So if you've been in the business longer than 20 minutes, I'm sure you've heard something like this. Well, I think my house is worth a lot more. In fact, I think my house is worth twice as much. You don't know what you're talking about. All right, so maybe that didn't exactly come out in that way, and it wasn't that angry or that pointed, but every single seller I've ever dealt with, myself included, feels like their real estate is worth more than it actually is. So as a professional, how are you dealing with this objection? The first thing you need to do is establish what are they doing with the proceeds of the sale of this house. There's only two reasons to sell real estate. Number one, you don't want to maintain it any longer, either financially or from a maintenance aspect. Or number two, you're raising capital for something else. Now, you might be raising capital for a replacement property, or you might be raising money for literally anything else. If you're a professional and you're not getting to that core motivation, you're going to be in a really weak position to be able to coach this seller into positioning their home so it is within market alignment. Market alignment. Your home isn't overpriced, because as soon as you start talking about price, you're going to get into an argument about price and value, which aren't even the same thing. So what I want to do is coach you around the concept of, I need to position your home in alignment so that it competes with other homes in the market better, so that you're able to achieve the highest possible market valuation that you can. So notice I said market valuation, not preconceived idea of what you think your home is worth. So how do you get somebody off that number? Well, you show them comps, recent comps. Here's how homes are currently positioned in your neighborhood that sold. Here's the values that they sold at. Here's how your home fits into that dynamic. I want your home to compete better so that we can get the highest possible market valuation. So what are some of the words and wording around this discussion? Because it can be difficult, it can be uncomfortable. I'm going to ask a question. Mr. Seller, wouldn't you want to achieve the highest possible market valuation that you can in this market? Well, yeah, but I'm not going to sell it for less than $700,000. I'm like, okay, let's take a look at the market and see how your home is going to compete with other homes that are priced at $700,000. In fact, we might find your home is maybe going to do better at $800,000 or $900,000 market. Wouldn't you want the most that the market could possibly return? So another thing I want to talk to very specifically, and maybe the words I'm going to use for this seller are, I need to determine why they're selling their home and what are they going to do with the proceeds of the sale of this house. And are they being realistic about what's going to happen? Is the sale of the house actually going to satisfy their goal, right? Their terminal goal. So $700,000, you're going to have about, $50,000 in commission and settlement. That gives you $650. Maybe it's got a $300,000 mortgage on it, and so now your proceeds are going to be $350,000 after it's all said and done. Great. So, Mr. Seller, if we were able to get that $350,000 at the end of this process, is it going to satisfy what your goal is? And if that goal is just a fantasy and it's not really a goal, it's just, well, I want 350 in the bank because I like the number. It looks really interesting to me. Well, is that 350 really associated or tied to something that the seller is looking to achieve in the future? Because if it's not, then it puts you in a really good position to start whittling away at this unrealistic expectation. Now, if they absolutely need 350 to achieve whatever their go forward plan is, then you need to dissect that also. Is there some sort of, maybe they're buying a replacement property and maybe there's some sort of alternative financing that's not going to require that they put as much down. Or maybe they're taking a portion of that money and giving it to a spouse in a buyout or a grandchild for education, something. If you don't know what that core reason is and somebody is totally fixated on that number, it's going to be very hard for you to problem solve and diagnose this issue. So when I'm coaching agents around going after expired listings that are overpriced, 9 times out of 10, we usually determine pretty quickly that there's not a really powerful motivation for selling the property. In fact, I've heard more times than I care to experience, well, I just want to put it on the market and see what happens. Well, you're shooting for the moon. Great. So if you did hit the moon, if you landed on the moon, what the hell are you going to do there, right? I don't know. So do me a favor, don't take overpriced listings. Number one, it's a little unethical, but on top of that, you kind of end up looking a little bit like a buffoon in your market, and how you look to other realtors in your market is it's actually really important, because there are people who are going to want to do business with you. And if you establish yourself as someone who does stuff that's not so kosher, copacetic, it might be a long-term problem for your credibility. So here's the problem. What happens when the unstoppable hits the immovable? In other words, you don't want to take an overpriced listing, and your seller doesn't want to list the property within market alignment with what's going on in the market. Here's the deal. Put this person in your long-term follow-up and continue to touch them ever so often. And you want to touch them every time a brand new property comes on the market in your marketplace or it sells. You're looking for brand new, fresh comps that are occurring around that person's house, because now you've become a subject matter expert. You're positioning yourself as someone who understands the market, stays aware of what's going on in the market. And when the time comes, Mr. Seller, I'd like to be able to market your home in such a way as to achieve the highest possible market valuation that we can. Please hit that subscribe button, and don't forget, visit our website and schedule your free 30-minute evaluation.